Alright, hey everybody. So we're back with one last night, and as you can see, they changed the menu screen. So I am really happy about that. This looks way better than what it looked like before. Not that it was bad before by any means, but this is much more fitting with the art style that they had set up last time. Anyway, oh geez, the last time was May 16th. It's now June, July 7th at 6:37 p.m. Neat. Okay, right. We have what was his name? Xavier, right? Yeah. And then we have this whole thing, Haven, whatever that is. Oh boy. Oh, another letter. Okay. Journal entry, whichever, who cares? Dear Marshall, can't believe I ever gave up the joys that come from hiking. It's been so long since I last took one to the woods outside of town, I'd briefly forgotten what it was like. Soft chirping of the birds in the trees, while the other wild animals like squirrels and chipmunks hopped between branches. Gentle breezes rustling the leaves of the treetops above, as well as cooling down my cheeks from the exercise. Rays of sunshine illuminated my surroundings as I walked, causing the fauna to blossom and truly shine. Can you tell that I've been working on my writing? To get to the point, I've realized how much I miss spending time on these trails. After the way things ended before you, I thought I'd never find that sense of joy again, the things I used to love. Oh boy. God, I like how we only got like what, like maybe 10 minutes with that with Marshall, so we don't really know anything about him. At least I didn't. I didn't really get attached to him anyway. More attached to Xavier than any other character, really. But you taught me that I should let the past hold such an grip on my future. Take time to heal, but I know I'll get there with you one day. Oh, really? Sure. I'm so sure you'll find him. I'm totally sure that'll happen. Sure, the future will make difficulties for us, Marshall. With you on my side, though, I could take on the world. But now I just need to take on the trek back to the car. Hike so far today, I found this beautiful lookout over the city. You'd love it. Maybe next time I could bring you with me with a basket of food, and we could have our own little picnic. Oh, so this is before the apocalypse. Okay, that makes sense. We can create new experiences to overwrite the pains of the past, bringing newfound joy back to my old interests. Look forward to all the wonderful memories we'll make together, my love. Oh my god, you fucking edgy, cringy at. Oh my god, see you soon, Marshy. Oh my lord. Too sweet, too sickeningly sweet. Wake up to the sound of someone shifting next to me. Instantly reached out to grab my phone, planning to turn off my upcoming alarm that will get me started for the day. Really? It's been a year and you're still expecting your phone to be a thing? Instead, my fingers brushing the nylon fabric lining the ground, causing me to open my eyes. Oh, I no longer have that comfortable life I took for granted, but one of someone trying to survive. Pushing the sleeping bag up my torso, I sit up and take a second to stretch. Hear the rustling once more and glance over to my newfound companion, still trying to get comfortable in the space next to me while he sleeps. Last night I'd gone to sleep before and invited him to rest in my tent to help fight off the cold nights. He said he'd think about it, but he was going to do a watch first just to be safe, making sure no enemies were nearby. Clearly, did my offer and was enjoying it by how soundly he slept. I watched him. I thought about the journey to come. We'll need to get on the road soon if we're to stick to the schedule I planned out. At the same time, though, Xavier saved my life yesterday and learned about the new world. Kid deserves a few extra minutes of rest, I'd say. Quietly, I get up from my shared bed, grab my bag, and spear as I head for the flaps. Carefully step around the unconscious bat and give my best effort not to make too much noise as I do. Once outside, I take a look at the familiar area briefly. This place had served me well for the past couple of weeks. Good spot that was close enough for the city, but enough of a distance away the enemies wouldn't wander near. At least, that's what I thought up until yesterday. So I back down next to the logs at the campfire, keeping my spirit and attack the perimeter. Walk along its edges, scanning the brush or anything that would have been out of place. There's a path with some snap branches where someone had clearly run through it, but a pink string hanging from a branch tells me you made it. This was clearly the direction Xavier had come from, the opposite of town. Could not but wonder what a story again, questioned its truth. There was that unmistakable look of pain and trauma in his eyes when he first told me, so there was certainly some honesty to it. It was awfully convenient to be he happened to be here at that exact right moment. I feel like I could trust Xavier, and I wanted to, but the logistical part of my brain needed no more. Continue this train of thought as I scoured the rest of the area, stopping for what to pay respect to the makeshift grave. When I arrived upon a secondary headstone next to the body, very roughly carved into a slab of wood with some words. To whoever you were before, after I'd gone to bed, Xavier must have made this, knowing the fated were once like us. May not have been a person when they died, but they were once. He no doubt was carrying some guilt with that thought that's supposed to have been to ease it. Truthfully, I planned to make one this morning, but it seems I've been spared the trouble. Knelt down beside the graveside, apologizing that the world had taken them in this way and wishing them to be at peace now. Just another tragedy amongst the many already and the more that were to come. Returned my bag in the clearing. Satisfied we were in the clear. Faint rot of the faded began to permeate the air, the stench unwelcome in the morning light. Since we wouldn't be in the area this much longer, it would be okay to start a fire for now. Smoke would give away that someone was here, but not before we had left. Besides, I'm not sure I can handle that smell much longer. With the now pleasant scent of wood smoke drowning out the rot, I set to work on my routine. Reaching my pack, I take out a plastic bag and untie it, removing the journals within. Learned my lesson, let everything slip and sit in the bag. When I had slipped and fallen into a river early on, it was waterlogged one of the books and ruined many of the entries within, so that I made sure to take extra good care of them. Finding the three that I needed and set them out in front of me, putting the rest back in. First, I grabbed the journal to write today's entry. Oh, that's cool. That's neat. I described the events of the previous day in detail, making notes of my questions and my plans what to do next. That's cool. Speaking of racial for me, even before the apocalypse, it was an easy way to organize my thoughts. As a bonus to help me keep track of the days, giving me that sense of calm that was at least something still consistent. It's hard at first to do so. The new daylight's like confusing me for a while before I got used to it. In the end, it's all something you have to get used to eventually. Sign off on the entry, I close the journal and place it to the side and pick up the next one. Flip through the logs in here, giving each a brief glance and mumbling some of the names to myself. The Butcher, the Silence, the Blob. Finding a blank page, I begin the new entry. The Vampire, rank B. Status deceased. Oof, okay. Elongated limbs, claws, fangs, scarlet eyes. Yeah, this is. Yeah. Start to sketch it out on the opposite page, making notes and significant traits. When I encounter a new fated, I keep a record of them for the future. We managed to kill the vampire yesterday, but most of the time the better solution is to flee. A number of the fated in this journal are sure to be still alive and wandering. Some might have been killed by others like Haven said last since I'd seen them last. Be some if I'd have to ask how I got there. Read that wrong? Who cares? I heard the rest of the tent opening got by a yawn. Turn my head to look at and watch as Xavier steps towards me, arms reaching towards the sky as he stretches. Morning, kid. Morning, Alex. Got a good sleep? Bet that I have the past few nights, that's for sure. Back down with my sketch out in the last few touches as Xavier approached. What are you rotting? An entry for the Fed we fought yesterday. Essentially, I'm pulling a hooking a thumb on my shoulder in its direction. Keep a log of all the ones I've encountered so far. Wow. I don't even sketch like that. It's impressive. So small creases my face at that remark. Thanks. It's one of the hobbies that persists throughout everything. Takes a seat next to me and watches as I finish up. How far you onto that thing, I must have encountered quite a few. I've seen my fair share over the months. Some I managed to defeat, others I just ran from. You can avoid a fight with those monsters, that's the route you want to take. No point in risking your life for the sake of glory. Think I could get a look at it? It was a with entry now finished, looking to my companion. At a later point, sure. For now, though, we've got some other business to attend to. Pick up the last three journals and give it a tap. On the cover, An inventory check. I'll go over my supplies first while you prepare some breakfast. Then we'll take a look at what you have. What you have on you on a separate page. It's usually a plan for the future when you know what you're working with and what when we'll need to restock. Beck gives me an utter approval, smiling. You really know what you're doing, don't you, old man? Look at him blinking in surprise. What? You call me kid, it's only fair to address my elders that what they are. An elder. Skins laughed at my shock as I stared at him incredulously. Just this dude, I love Xavier already. Did he really just call me old? When I listen to him laughing, I can't let myself join in as well. It's infectious. Found me good with that one, I'll admit. It just means I need to set my game for next time. Okay, I'll get started on a meal for us. Very gonna grab his stuff I am, 2 cans of stew. He was about to protest, but I cut him off. You did on me last night. I get to do ours this morning. Don't argue because I won't hear it. Xavier looks at him with a smile and blushes slightly, seeming a bit embarrassed. Thanks, Alex. Turns away to figure out how best to eat our foods beyond my inventory check. The only changes from yesterday are the number of rations and a slight dip in the bandage department. Oh geez, that poked up on screen. You can see my fucking Steam notified. Okay, cool. After he unwrapped me yesterday, given all the extra material to Xavier for his supplies, I just made a mental note that although you were going to Haven, it'd be better to stock up on rations before we enter their camp. Be a good teaching moment for Xavier and now Scavin as well. Finished up the check just in time to see the bat approaching me with the cans now wrapped in cloth. Careful to halt. I smiled as I took the can from his hands, blowing up the steam rising from the open lid. Reaching one of my bag's pockets, I took out 2 spoons and passed one over him to use. A few of us dug into our respective meals, enjoying the taste of a hearty chicken stew. Ate in silence for a while, enjoying the presence of the other while listening to the crackling of the fire before us. She beat me to it. They gave me a confused look. So what? A gravestone. Oh, that. Well, after what you told me last night, I didn't feel right to leave nothing there in their memory. Whoever they were before, they surely had a life. People who cared for them, people they cared for. Plus, since I had a crucial role in their death, I felt this sense of responsibility. I should be the one to lay them to rest. Xavier, I know. I want who they once were, and I'm probably grateful to be free of that horrible state. Still, I couldn't just do nothing. But in silence for a few once more after stats before speaking up once more. Can I finish what I was saying now? Go ahead. I was gonna say I'm proud of you, kid. Xavier gave a surprised look at that. Oh, what was that? You got a good head on your shoulders. You have a moral compass to be admired, and it's something I'm happy to see in someone your age. Shot me a glare at that last part. Again, you're only 3 years older. I dry my hands and close my eyes, attempting my best impression of how I imagine someone would look if they were enlightened. And yet I am wise beyond them. Was with a laugh from my companion that I joined in on. Keep telling yourself that, old man. After we finished up the remainder of our suit, my Beck and Xavier over. Alright, let's go over your inventory and see what you have. Occurred to me that I didn't even know how I've been keeping the supplies like food from last night. See, where are you keeping your stuff? You don't have a backpack. Xavier gave me a smile as he slid off his quiver. That's because I've been using this. Pressing over to me, the thing was a lot bulkier than I'd realized. While it was skinny at the top and bottom for arrows, the thing was covered in pouches and pockets used to store various things. Where'd you even get something like this? My parents invested in some self-defense survival company, and this was one of the rewards for the tier they pledged. Fascinating. It's the kind of thing I'd seen before, and yet there was a vague sense of familiarity about the design I couldn't place. Handed the bag to Xavier before my bag, once more to replace the books in their respective plastic bag. Then I slid a new smaller notebook with a pen out of one of the front pockets I had placed there as spare. Over the first page, writing Xavier's supplies across the header. So kid, let's start with the easiest thing, probably most important for you to track, the arrows. Counted them out, Xavier began speaking to fill the silence. Sorry if everything was a bit disorganized, I just grabbed whatever was near and showed them the pockets the way they fit. Well, aside from the few things I'd had in there. Now glancing up, I continued the conversation as I inspected the arrows for wear and tear in order to separate them into 2 groups. What did you already have? The arrows, most obviously. Other than that, it was a few basic supplies like rations, a water bottle, book of Morse code, a multi-tool, etc. Pausing, glanced up at him. Wait, what was that last thing? Xavier gave me a confused look. Cetera? Well, it's an adverb that's used to indicate there are more similar things following. Gets himself seeing the deadpan look I gave him. Surely you know what a multi-tool is, Alex. Shook my head and trod alongside. The book, Xavier, how is that a basic supply? Why wouldn't it be? You'll never know when most call might come in handy. Once you learn it, do you really still need the book around? I guess not. Her feeling was a silence mover that followed before he spoke up again. Do you know Morse code? Nope. Ha! The use is because use once more. Point Xavier. Since when is there a score of our conversations? Since I started winning. The laugh from both of us began to focus more on taking stock of our supplies. Sure enough, it was a bit messy, a bit of a messy ordeal. Well, the aforementioned items were there, including the book. Everything was strewn about. I was glad I'd taken the time to do this beforehand. This would make things easier down the line if we ever needed to search for something. Do a small sketch of the backpack quiver in my book and annotate the pockets with numbers. Then there I write the number on the opposite page and list each object stored there with their quantity. Despite Xavier having to grab whatever he could, he had a fair amount of items that could be useful later for basic survival. Some rope, a small mirror, a miniature first aid kit that was nearly all bandages, water purification tablets, a deck of cards, and more. Not a bad haul, kid. We'll make a survivor out of you yet. Thanks. There was something beaming smile, and I felt my heart skip a beat at seeing the joy in his features. I was really growing attached to him fast. Never the type to make quick friends, but he and I just seemed to click naturally. It was a nice contrast. Close the notebook and slide the pen back down its spine, holding out to Xavier. Well then, here you go, kid. They were surprised at the gesture. Wait, what? You get just given it to me? Of course I am. After what you told me yesterday, I figured you could use one for yourself. So you can really keep track of and organize everything you need to, even if it's just your own thoughts. Ed smiles and opens a notebook, making a notation on his inventory page and placing it into his quiver. With the bag now organized, I stood up from the log and brushed out my pants. What's next on the to-do list then? Anything else we need? Stretched my back as I answered, eyes closed. I felt up my midriff exposed to my shirt. Nothing we can't do on the road. I'll pack up our tent while you put out the campfire. Waited for a response, but was met with silence. Opened my eyes again. I saw he was staring at me as I stretched, seemingly in a daze. Hello? Earth to Xavier. Wait, my answer right in his face seemed to snap him out of it. What? Oh, right, sure thing, Alex. He moved himself to the other side of the campfire and crouched down, attempting to hide himself behind the flames. Strange kid. Turned back and walked over to the tent, rolling up my sleeping bag and tying it at the bottom of the pack. We'd have to find one for Xavier later, but for now, the tent warm with another person was a welcome sensation. Considering how I was asleep when I woke up, I could tell he enjoyed it as well. Especially if I had no blankets the past 2 nights wearing that outfit. Naturally, Xavier had finished first and walked over to help me dismantle the tent. Didn't take long between the two of us, and the next thing I knew, we were ready to go. That's everything, kid. Let's get a move on. Two of us walked over to the path leading out of the clearing, and I stopped at the edge, tossing to look back at the area. Please don't. There's no room, a very judging look on his face. Don't what? You look like you're about to speak to the campsite and say goodbyes with sentient. Looked at the sudden personal read. Well, certainly won't deserve a thanks. Theodore shook his head and gave me a smile. Whatever helps you sleep at night, old man. Turning around and continued walking down the path, giving me some time alone with the place. Looking back by me now, the moment had passed and let aside, I followed after, muttering under my breath. Point Xavier. Ah, I love this VN. God, it's so good. The canopy above allowed glimpses of the sunlight through as we trekked toward the city. Me taking the lead as I'm more familiar with the terrain and know where we're going. No matter how much time I'd spend out here, I don't think I'd ever get enough of walking these trails. There's just something comforting about these woods, like it was a home away from home with the fresh scent of nature in the air. Suppose that was one benefit of the end. The air pollution had reduced significantly. There was no longer the heavy stench of motor oil and rotten garbage that often came with it. It's a nice change of pace to be able to breathe fully, not have to worry about inhaling the smell of someone's leftovers. That had been in the refrigerator a bit too long and sat baking in a black bag under the unforgiving sun. Turned my attention back to our walk, I let myself get lost in unnecessary thoughts. Don't need to get caught off guard while having some kind of shit attempted a poetic monologue. That'd be a heavily embarrassing way to die. Well, for me at least. We're gonna need to walk in silence for a good half hour or so. Before my brain can make another type of ranting to myself, Xavier speaks up. So, nice weather we're having? Blink at the bat and show him amused disappointment. Yes, it's quite lovely. Not an aircraft in sight. Now, what is it that you really want to ask? Xavier begins to redden embarrassment like call him out. I didn't really want to have anything specific in mind to talk about. I just, want to talk more with you. You thought the weather was a good place to start? His arms up in defeat. I don't know, man. You had to practice with this stuff, and I didn't speak many people before then either. Not really sure how conversations are supposed to go. Another socially awkward butterfly like I used to be. Well, kid, here's some advice. You want to talk to someone you're not familiar with, try broaching them with a topic to get to know them better. From there, you're sure to find something in common, and if not, you can always learn something new. Xavier took a moment to consider that before responding. Well, and how'd you end up getting so confident? If you're able to talk to people now, what gave you that push forward? Or I could stop myself, barked out a laugh. Oh, kid, I'm not confident in the slightest. Really? Yeah, really. I come up with confidence because that's how I choose to act. Fake it till you make it, as they say. So I'm actually a bundle of worry, but the more you spend that time putting to show, the easier it gets each time. See, like the man's eyes as he filed that mental note away for later use. Really, so this mental rail must be all those years of experience. Am I the first push taken to your wing? Covered my lap with a coffee area and used that turn of phrase. Suppose you are. I've never really had anyone to train or teach things. I'm usually the student in those situations. But for my sake, I hope you took a few notes to prepare yourself for this then. Yes, I'm sure this will be my greatest challenge yet. Teaching a young brat the true ways of the world. Xavier looked shocked at my word choice. What are you calling a brat? Did I say that? Pretty sure I said bat. I may be the older one here, but it seems like you're the one I need to be hearing test. Both began laughing at my retort, continued to walk forward. Alright, I pulled Alex on that one. Thanks, Xavier. Rustled my fingers through his head for an appreciative gesture. If I'm gonna be your mentor, I'm not sure how well that fares for me. What do you mean? Well, often in media, whenever the mentor figures introduced to a character and trains them, said mentor later ends up dying. It's a classic trope used through all kinds of narratives. That gives me a glare at that. Not everything is a movie or whatever, though, is it? You're right. Sometimes life is a bit more enjoyable if you see it through that lens. Especially when you find yourself in a reality such as this one. Xavier and I are in agreement before thinking something over once more. How about this? Or to break that sword in half, I can teach you a few things in return. Transaction skills, so the whole thing is listenable and solid. Will that break the trope? Couldn't hurt to try. Always wanted to get better at archery. Can't say whether I'll be a good teacher or not, but I'm practicing since I was a kid. It's always been one of my hobbies and I grew quite good at it. I mean, you saw me take down that fader. I think I'm a pretty good shot. There you are, you really saw my ass back there. I wasn't exactly gonna let you die now, was I? I'm told to look up, I was out myself, but knowing I could help you then. I could do something. The feeling was liberating. What's next? You're gonna thank me for being in danger? And your drums, old man. Two of us sure to laugh at that. On the topic there, how did you get so good at using the spear? Might not believe me, but honestly, fencing. I was on the school team for all middle and high school. Okay, cool. Characters actually are characters. Great. Granted, I was rushed when things started to go wrong a year ago, but training with the folks at Avon helped me get to a point where I could defend myself properly. Hell, they even made my spear go up a little twirl to accentuate the point. Better than wielding a regular kitchen knife like I was using at the time. Speaking of the tip of my new weapon. Wow, you told me a bit about them before, but what else can you say about Haven? Felt for a moment of time with them. As I said, they're a safe community. First start as a place to gather survivors in order to create a sense of unity amongst the unknown. Then, when the Fated started appearing, they began establishing themselves as a hub of safety for those that needed it. They built up walls to keep Fated and other enemies out. They set up a system of scouts that search for supplies, monitor the area, track Fated, rescue survivors, and more. Granted, this formation was completed by accident, just a bunch of people trying to help, turning into a sanctuary for those in need of help. There are other groups amongst the city, some like Haven, and others going towards a darker path. Overall, however, Haven stands amongst the best of the options in my opinion. Xavier smiled at this. No matter what the world we live in, people will still find a way to come together. Based on you talked about them, you really admire them, don't you? Give him a smile back. Of course I do. They're some of the best people I know. I doubt I'd be here without them. Then if you trust them so much, so do I. I mean, as you walk path toward and sounds of a few moments, the conversation reaching its natural end. It's quiet for a while again, the two of us enjoying the company of the other, until there was a familiar noise off just to the left of the path. Been doing a lot over the past few months since it was on the way. I thought it'd be a perfect pit stop. Began to veer towards the brush as Xavier walked up next to me. Why are we going this way? Won't the path lead us to the city? We will, and we'll get there in due time. However, we've got a few things to do before reaching Haven. Like what? You'll see. What happens will tell me everything, Pot. If it'll be something important that you need to know to help with survival, absolutely. Menial tasks like these can be left as sweet little surprises. So this is one of our pit stops. Correct. He walked a bit faster to get out of bed as he began trapezing through the underbrush, the sound slowly growing louder as he approached. Xavier seemed to notice now too, his ears giving a brief twitch as he analyzed what he was hearing. Is that? As it was cut off, his destination came into view behind us, the soft sound of rushing water now clear. A river! Hell yeah. Before us now was a river. The water flowed at a brisk pace as it collided with the rocks beneath the surface. It wasn't too deep, the bottom still visible as he approached the water bank, and I slid my pack off to sit to the side. Sunshine down the brook, hopefully brought me some warmth to the stream. Or with the stream was the greenery surrounding the area, blew ever so slightly on the breeze. Overall, it was a beautiful spot that had remained relatively undisturbed over the years, even less so now. My companion seemed to notice this as well as he took in the sight in awe. Wow, this place is gorgeous. How did I manage to find this? They just stepped further ahead of me to the clearing. I've hiked these trails many times over the years, not just after the apocalypse either. There's only so much you can explore if you decide to blaze new trails, however. This was one of my discoveries. Here, follow my lead now, patience quarter pack down. Trying to waste no time here, I slided my shirt off as I examined the watery clearing. Most importantly, the sound coming from the stream was a good noise reduction for what we'd be doing here. Passed around my ankles as the back turned to look at me. Oh, you're finally going to tell me that? Xavier glanced at my mostly nude form, a heat beginning to rise in his cheeks as he tried to speak. Psst. What? But... What? I found my pants and put my thumbs into my underwear, about to slide them out as my companions able to finally string words together and almost squeal. Stop! What do you think you're doing? Looking at him confused, I moved my hands back to my sides. Getting undressed? What? Shriver tried to confidence in his own. We soon once his lips began to redden further beneath his fur. I realized what I'm talking about. But we're going to bathe? Like, together? Not together per se, but in close proximity to each other, yes. I'd rather we stick close by just in case there's plenty of room in the river for both of us. Blush seems to ease a bit at that answer, and I smirk, taking into consideration how flustered I just made him. What's the matter, kid? You're not afraid of a little male contact, are you? Ben immediately flushes again at a loss for words. Oh, come on, that wasn't my best work. You've like never seen a new man before. It's because I haven't. Now that surprises me. Wait, really? Of course not. What do you mean? I thought you were gay. Blizzard State turned in shock at that. Well, how did you know? I'm disappointed to look again, using a hand gesture to the outfit he's currently wearing. If he thought he looked straight in those clothes, the kid might have been more clueless than I thought. He glanced at himself and raised his arm, embarrassed. Point taken. Give him a soft smile. Still surprised, though. You're a conventionally attractive dude. I thought you would have surely had a guy hanging off your arm at some point. Xavier seems to get uncomfortable with his insinuation, not me in my eyes as he responds. I had a rather sheltered upbringing. Never really got the chance to try a relationship or anything like it. Oh. Awkward silence begins to descend on the two of us. Speak up first, trying to break the tension before it gets too thick. Hey, think of it this way. Every single day before when you first bandaged me up, so there shouldn't be yet nothing new. Xavier meets my eyes again, but they start to wander downward a bit as he gives up my point, shooting back upward suddenly. I guess that's true enough. I saw you, except for, well, you know. You think just from across, trying to look down in that direction. Think over the current predicament and how I'd rather not waste too much time here coming to that direct conclusion. Anything's like less awkward if you were. Oh no. I have to pause, aren't I? What? I immediately flustered up again at that statement. There goes all my work talking him down. Kid, I know you're nervous, and we don't have much time to waste here. Plus, you're gonna need to bathe eventually. What better place to do it than a natural river? It's a refreshing experience when you get used to the cold. Xavier looks over at the water and back at me, taking a few deep breaths to calm himself down. All right. You can do this, Xavier. Nothing to be worried over. Piece of cake. No big deal. Oh my god, this fucker. I'm gonna have to pause, aren't I? Oh boy. Breathes a few similar statements himself as begins to undress, eyes closed, as to help with the anxiety he's surely feeling and to tune out the world. See my companion undress him to get a proper look at his body with the sunlight shining over the riverbank. Well, he doesn't have abs. His body is sleek and defined like that of an athlete. He's more musculature in his chest and arms like he'd do with his skills with the bow. My assessment was right earlier. Xavier really is attractive. I'm sure he'd have many dudes chasing after him if he ever got out in the world more. Maybe everyone would still find his chance now. There's one thing this apocalypse taught me, it's that the most unexpected things can happen. I couldn't good a random twink finding love. Curl out to having a laugh at my thoughts. He removes his pants, not wanting to think I'm laughing at him. As he does so, I take a moment to really pay attention to Xavier's arms, and I realize something's off between them. Just a few glances back and forth, my brain finally makes the connection. He only has one wing. Surprised it took me this long to notice. I always consider myself observant, but this realization puts me to shame. Then again, I didn't really check him out over our day and a quarter together. Make a mental note of it to ask about later, but not wanting him to feel judged after he had the courage to take his clothes off in the first place. Finished his folding his jeans before placing them in a pot. I have to pause. I'll see you guys after this. Okay, I think I'm safe now, but I don't know. I might not be. YouTube is run by Puritans. I don't know how else to say it. Fuck YouTube. We both begin to head in opposite directions from each other. Keep my eye on him to make sure he doesn't wander too far, however. Satisfied with this distance, I turn my attention upstream and begin to wash myself. Xavier did a decent job the previous day in cleaning me up, but it wasn't the same as having a proper chance to wash yourself. Something rejuvenating about letting fresh water run over your body, cleansing you, literally, but in a way mentally as well. Really underappreciate spending time bathing with Marshall, who loves to do it. Take a while, sometimes too long, in the shower making sure his fur was absolutely pristine. I'd tease him about it from time to time, which usually got me wrapped in a big hug and smelling like a wet dog with hints of citrus body wash. When we have our baths together, he taught me that bathing can be more than a necessity, but a time of leisure as well. It'll let your stresses flow off you and give you the chance to just breathe. Listen to him, and slowly but surely I felt the urge to let the hot water flow over my skin and grow stronger and stronger each time. Granted, I never spent long in there as Marshall did due to the fact that he's fur and I don't. Scratched my face with the cold stream water, bringing myself back to the present and anyway reminiscing. The stream, unfortunately, isn't terribly warm due to the minimal sunshine it gets, but it's enough so I'm not horribly freezing just by touching it. Doesn't really compare to a hot shower, though. It's been a good while, and clean my body thinking more about Marshall all the while. It's rare able to connect with someone at a visual level. So we've reached the point where you feel like you truly understand each other. Neat, cool. We're still talking about this dude. Neat, cool. I was drawn to him the moment we met, feeling some kind of connection instantly. That over time he won me over with his compassion, his kindness, his humor. Made me fall for him when I thought I'd never really fall for someone again. He was there for me when I needed him, whenever I needed him. That's the kind of man he is. Such a beautiful soul, and I smile whenever I think of that handsome, dopey face. Confident in my words when I say Marshall's my true love, the one I'm destined to be with. As I told Xavier last night, if something had happened to him deep in my chest, I'd know it. He has to be out there somewhere, and I'm sure he's looking for me too. Stare up into the sky, hoping somewhere out there that he's looking up at it too as the little remaining daylight hour begins to fade away. I will find you, my love. Your deputy is coming. Fuck off with your cheesy ass bullshit. I edited the last button on my shirt as I finished getting dressed, shaking my hair out a bit to help dry it easier. Glancing over, I saw Xavier's pile of clothes was still sitting next to his quiver, untouched since earlier. Quick, quick look back revealed the bat still splashed himself with the water. Looks like I'm not the only one who appreciates good cleaning. I have to let him go a little while longer normally, but already in twilight again. We had one more stop to make before the day was over. Hey kid, wrap it up, we got places to be. Coleman. Oh boy, time to pause. Okay, he's back in his outfit, thankfully. Good few minutes later, my companion had toweled off and clothed himself. His fur remained a bit wet, particularly the fluff around his head. Ready to go, old man. We can split possible for your 7 o'clock bedtime. Roll my eyes at that, only just Quiver trying to take the lead. You whippersnappers these days. With little chuckles, he started off on the main path, pushing the brush aside the makeshift trail. Sounds of the creek began to slowly fade behind us, a comforting contrast to the typical woodland atmosphere. Savor moments like these. After all, it was hard to tell when or if you'd be able to experience them again, so you need to make them count. It wasn't a long trip before we were back and moving forward on the path. Light had dimmed, the trees blocking out a good portion of the twilight sky, provided enough to let us see where we were going fairly easily. Everything was once again painted with the warm colors that accompanied the setting sun, a fact I'd never quite grown used to, as if naturally following this unnatural cycle, forced to quiet it somewhat as the wild animals settled down for the extended evening. Pleasant silence passed between the two of us as Xavier sidled up next to me. Took comfort in the fact that for the first time in a while I wasn't alone. Well, wasn't alone with someone I felt I could trust at least. Runners and bandits here and there, as well as a few survivors during my time out by myself, but I never managed to feel truly safe around any of them. Yet with Xavier, that changed almost instantly. To be honest, the sensation kind of scared me, which is why I kept at least a few degrees of separation from truly fully trusting him. Last thing I needed right now was to go attached and only end up betrayed. Still, I couldn't help but think back and compare the past year with all I'd accomplished. As I was contemplating that, is when Xavier decided to break the silence. So I want to talk more about heaven. Be my guest. I know you have all this faith and trust in them, I'm sure they will, but how long exactly have you known them? Is it really long enough to be able to put your full loyalty towards them? Of course, they've been there since the start, after all. Wait, really? Yep, you're Tom, one of the founding members of Haven. How'd you manage that? Right place, right time, I guess. I had made connections with some other survivors early on, helping the injured and scavenging for resources. Then, when the Faded appeared, it kind of forced us into our own group's protection. I ended up joining forces with those survivors, making a base camp in the suburbs, closer to the outskirts than the urban areas. Slowly, the community grew to both members and resources. Remember the day they found a bunch of seed packets for different fruits and vegetables? People were ecstatic, but we didn't know whether they grow properly or not due to lack of sunlight. For whatever reason, the plants seemed to be thriving in this environment, so that was a massive stroke of luck. It's great and all, but did you see other groups? Did you really think in a city this big there'd only be one concentration of survivors? Xavier reddened at the question. Fair point. Some are allies to Haven, but others hold a more hostile attitude, none more so than the bandits. Bandits? Shit, that really does seem like an apocalypse. Give like Officer Mark. You're telling me. Why'd you leave behind then to move out here? Oh, it wasn't to move here, per se. This is just one of the locations I've been at. Left because although it felt good to help people when was surrounded by others, part of me was overwhelmed at times and needed a break. Mostly, though, as selfish as it was because of Marcel. Xavier cocked his head, confused at that. Thought you didn't know what happened to him. I don't. And that was the problem. Months of no word about him, investigating dead ends of sitting there and hoping he'd show up. Couldn't take it anymore, not being able to roam and try to find him, so I left. There's some silence between us then, as Xavier thinks it over. I'm sure he's criticizing me for putting my personal life in front of the needs of others. I know I have. Surprised then to look at him and find a appreciative look sprawled across his face. Court Bud needs a decision to make. You gave a lot of yourself to Heaven. I'm sure that they're grateful for that. It's okay to be selfish sometimes. I don't think any less of you for it. If anything, after hearing all that, I only think more highly. What you do with Haven is an impressive feat, and that moment you can manage. Cut yourself some slack. Almost like it was a mind reader the way he knew exactly what I was thinking. Unless I'll begin to blush a bit at the kind words, my heart only warming further towards trusting the bat. Thanks, kid, that means a lot. Well, my smile grabbed a mysterious look at him. Now that you know a bit of celebrity, however, I have to ask, you want an autograph? He says understand with a wink to which he rolls his eyes. As if your scribble on a piece of paper would be worth anything. It could be. Never underestimate the value of a signature. Yeah, I'll make sure I learn it so I can forge it in all my future doctor's notes to get out of gym class. Does this actually work? Based on my past experiences, yes, they do. My gym teacher either caught on or thought I was horribly ill, but I'm not a doctor, so my signature would be worthless in that regard. Thank God you won't. I wasn't really give up apples. Went back in the statement for a moment. Did you never really try it growing up, though? Apples? Of course I did. They're my favorite fruit. Must. Resist. Urge. Thought I was your favorite fruit. Resistance failed. Savior shoots for the same judging look when we left the campsite and I put my hands up in defense. It's not your fault you set yourself up for that one. Also, wasn't trying to apples with my question. Was liable before continuing the conversation. And what you talking about? Doctor's note part. Oh. Yeah, I never really got a shot out it would have even worked. How come? Are you a bad liar? Told you that shit looked nice, didn't I? No. Oh, well, that shit looked really nice on you. Glanced at him. What's wrong with my shirt? And he just talked as if I hadn't said anything. My law and skills aside, though, I never tried because I was homeschooled. My parents took me out when I was young and taught me all the way to college level. So that's what you meant when you said you were sheltered. Yep, never had a chance to go to public school to make friends. Just me and my parents. Some textbooks and the internet. Yeah, the internet, why didn't you make friends that way? I made a few from around the world and even some from around here. They're all okay. They really suddenly covered up my remarks, filled them with his hands awkwardly. I'd, uh, I'd rather avoid that topic for now, please. It's a rather touchy subject for me. Right, sorry. You got it. An awkwardness that usually follows this kind of situation began to rise between us, the tension slowly thickening the atmosphere as he walked. I had to think. What I knew about Xavier, what were topics he enjoyed. There had to be something to cheer him up. Clicked to me suddenly to remember a point of entry for a conversation this morning. Say, I have some time to kill as we walk. How about you take out that book of yours and you can start teaching me Morse code? In an instant, Xavier seemed to perk at the suggestion. Really, I want to learn? Of course I do, Xavier. Never hurts to pick up a new skill. You never know when it may come in handy. Silently pulled the book from a bigger pocket on his quiver. He'll be in a few pages before looking up at me. Alright, I don't know how much exactly you know about Morse code, so I'll start from the very basics. Essentially, it's a system of dashes and dots that are used to make up the alphabet, numbers, and some symbols. Also be used for a variety of different signals we'll get to eventually. Used with rod and sound, the latter is more common, and it also helps send messages via the radio in disguise. Up at the last part for a moment. Newsflash, kid, but we don't exactly have much technology anymore. Nobody's been able to use any sort of electronics since that day, not even good old-fashioned AA batteries. Doesn't matter anymore, anyhow. The other ways to use it with sound. I'll teach you an easy and important phrase to start off. Xavier slings, is it going to be SOS? I know this one by heart. Xavier slings the quiver off his shoulder and reads the small notebook and pen I gave him earlier, flipping to a blank page near the back. Most known and one of the easiest to transmit is SOS. I'm assuming you know it. It's a commonly known distress symbol. Full fact was developed for maritime use and doesn't actually sound for anything, despite what people might say. You'll hear people claim a sense of stuff like, save our souls, but that's all complete bullshit. I'm about to the point, however, the translation of this would be 3 dots, 3 dashes, and 3 dots. These make up the corresponding letters to the signal. Yep, thought so. Binary SOS, that's like the number one you always learn. What was the notebook in front of me to show what he's written? Notebook corresponding with what he just said. Yep. Something wasn't clicking for me, though. It's great and all, but how do we do dashes if there isn't any way with the prolonged sound? Simply use 3 quick taps instead. Hold on, let me just let David takes a look around the trail, moving ahead a bit to pick up 2 sticks and turning to face me. Then taps the sticks together. In the order of SOS. 3 hits, 3 sets of quick taps, and 3 more hits. Tell you listen, it's always good to know just in case something happens, you end up in danger. Here, give it a try. He's been sticking up to repeat what he just did. It's a bit messy, my rhythm never having been that good, but it comes across just fine. Imagine it'd be hard to screw up. Just like that. Say no dog can learn new tricks. Sure will glare but can't help laughing along with him. He's right though, this is something useful I can use my advantage. Increasing one's skill set is always a bonus. I'm also just excited to learn more. What's next then? Ah, yes, we're not. Yeah, makes sense. You can't exactly cram a fucking Morse code lecture into a VN. That'd be boring. At least to some people. To me, it wouldn't be. But whatever. Xavier and I spent the next hour and a half or so studying Morse code together. I've managed to learn a few letters so far, but not enough to be able to fully translate it. Oh, Kai, can you tell me what I just tapped out to you? Of course I can. Oh, what was it? Next question. Xavier shakes his head, a smile on his muzzle. You're hopeless. Laces are popping his head as he speaks. Give me a minute, I know what to do. I flips to a new page in the notebook and starts writing something down. Take the time to observe the scenery as he does so. Trail walking is taking on an uphill slant and has for a short while now. We're getting close to our next stop. Bents over at Xavier, worried about what comes next. It'll certainly hurt, but it's probably the best way to handle this. He needs to see it for himself. What does he need to see? Uh-oh. This is back in front of me once more and slide out the pocket watch to check the time. We're running a little behind schedule, but not enough to make much of an impact. Without this memento, I'd never been able to keep track of the days as they passed. Even when he's not here, Marshall still finds a way to take care of me. As I'm zipping the pocket back up, Xavier finishes his writing. I'm done, this should help you. Carefully tears the page from the book and hands it to me. Look down at the paper and sees impressively neat handwriting. Oh, cool. Yeah, that's neat. Is this a cheat sheet? I prefer the term study guide, but yes. Pages of every letter written with the associated dashes and dots next to them also include the numbers 0 through 9 and some punctuation marks. It will be easy reading over this since I'll go in one place. You can take the time to analyze and memorize everything whenever you ask from Tom. Thanks, Kel. Make sure to put it to good use. Fill the paper up a few times and slide it into the rest pocket of my shirt for easy access. Say, how are you feeling right now? Xavier glanced over me, a brightness in his eyes. I'd say I'm alright. Why do you ask? I've got a personal question for you, something I'm wondering about. I've been asking a lot of stuff, it's only fair. I give you something in return. Ask away. Not sure the best way to phrase it, but I know you only have one wing. Realization dawned on Xavier's face. No, you won't know what happened to my wing then. If you don't mind. Garrett looks a bit sad suddenly as he faces downward. It was stolen from me when I was young, sold in the black market for whatever sick purpose they come up with. What the fuck? My face immediately flushed with shame at having him bring up that trauma. I don't know what to say. Bat meets my eyes as I struggle to find my voice. Fuck. Xavier, I'm so... Words are cut off with sudden boisterous laughter as Xavier begins cackling to himself. Holy shit, there's no way I actually believe that. He's laughed with shame quickly turned into embarrassment. Of course I did, why wouldn't I? I don't know, but if a man who preaches caution really a guard down on that one. It's something for Xavier is able to speak properly again, having laughed to himself so hard he needed to catch his breath. I can't believe I heard that lie. I was so quick to believe I didn't even stop to question things I usually would. It just goes to show how much I've grown to trust him such a little time. You done now? Yeah, I'm fine. Told you I was a good lie. Yes, point you. Now, answer my damn question, please. There's no sob story or anything, it's a simple reason I was born without it. Don't say it was some kind of extremely rare genetic defect. Don't spend all my life and never been able to fly anything, as much as I always dreamed of it. Must have been tough, though. Sad it smells, but overall, don't let it affect me much. It's part of me, so I can't change. Self-accepted and moved on. No point wasn't energy on hating myself, and I can spend it being happy instead. Sure words have never been spoken. Planet was walking suddenly gets a lot steeper, and I can see the area I'm headed for, not much farther ahead. Xavier seemed to finally take notice of our upward journey as well. What, how long have we been hiking up here? For a little while now, we'll set up camp after we get to the top. This only managed to confuse him more. I don't understand. Shouldn't we be heading downwards instead? Told you we had a few pit stops before we got there. This is the last one of the day. Just before you reach the top, unable to see what waits up there for us, and turn to Xavier. This will be painful to see, but I'm right here with you, okay? This continues begin to veer towards concern. Alex? What's going on? We'll be coming up on a cliff just ahead. With it, you'll be able to get a proper view of the city. Okay. I'm not sure what the problem is. Sighed him. There's a difference between being told something and actually seeing it for yourself, Xavier. You know things were destroyed, and I'm sure you even saw some of it. What you're about to see, though, is the world as it truly is now, and I promise you, no matter how prepared you might feel, that it won't be easy to see. Xavier nodded at me. I know you're raw, but I'm ready for it all the time. He began tapping his fingers against his leg, likely as a nervous tick to help him stay calm. Let's go then. Taking a deep breath into you forward, Xavier, following at my right side. As you step forward, another clearing comes into view, the ground having plateaued out. Across from another trail going downwards, and to the right is an opening in the dense foliage, the edge of the cliff. Xavier immediately is drawn towards it, his curiosity overtaking him. I let him go and turn my attention elsewhere. Fuck. Walk into the area and place my bag down, moving the tent, beginning to set up while the warm-toned sky edges ever closer towards the night. Having done this several times in the past and able to handle the task with relative ease, and the shelter set up in no time. Glance around, looking for Xavier. He's still seated on the cliff, face turned away from me and staring off into the distance. Walking towards him, I catch sight of the view for myself. Okay, wow. This is just pretty. This is really fucking pretty. Staring at the distance, taking in the scenery before me. My gaze first falls upon the edges of our city, towards the overgrown suburbs. They're damaged like the rest of the place, but less so the closer the surrounding forest you get. Fauna has taken hold of it, growing unnaturally quick in the past year. Pretty sure you mean flora, not fauna, but whatever. The trees spring out through the battered houses, casting shadows onto the forsaken ground beneath them. Further in I look, the worst damage begins to grow. Fallen buildings cause quite the destruction to its surroundings, having knocked into each other and smattering the city with debris. Skeletal remains of skyscrapers polluting the horizon create the outline of a city long gone or what once could be considered its prime. Rays of warm sunlight cascade and glisten amongst the shattered glass decorating the broken room we now find ourselves in, dotting the territory as if it were a night sky. I'm gonna take a screenshot of this because it's gonna be like my thumbnail. Perhaps there's still a chance of a future, at a wave uniting once more, repairing everything. Then I see it again. The thing that often drains the hope from my body. It's hard to make out from here, but I know it's there. A scar. As if someone raked an unsharp blade across the crust of the earth, a giant gash carves the landscape in two. Directly down the middle of our city, from lakeshore to an unknown distance further than the eye can see, is a chasm too wide to properly cross. The water from the lake flows over and into it, though it never seems to drain. The wound itself goes impossibly deep, as I've been told, to the point where you can't even see the bottom. The edges are densely populated by faded, making it an unnecessary risk to even attempt to approach it purposefully. It's a scar. To mark to remind us that this is a now broken world, forever changed by what happened that day. At the same time, as I grieve for what once was, I can't help but admire the beauty that comes with the destruction as well. There's something in us all that seems to crave a look at misfortune, to see it for ourselves and admire it. Drawn into the view every single time, the highlights of sunset combining with the heightened greenery overtaking the urban landscape. Close my eyes and take a deep breath, wiping a tear from my face as I look away from the sight. Instead, I Move my gaze downwards towards Xavier, seeing tears flowing down his cheeks silently as he stares. Look back up as well as we stand in silence while the sun slowly sinks further towards being out of sight. It's really gone, huh? I'll let my sound speak for itself. Takes a shuddering breath in return. Do you think we'll ever be able to get things back the way they used to be? Take a minute before I respond. I'd be lying if I said I knew. I don't think it'll ever be the same as it once was. Small Sock was my friend beside me. That doesn't mean they won't get better. It'll take time, but the world's always changing. We can push towards a better change for the better. Right now, we have each other. That may not be much, but I think it's one hell of a start. I've seen enough of this life to tell you there's always a brighter day after the storm. I smile softly to myself. Who better to hear that advice from than an old man? When a struggle now comes from Xavier, the joke seeming to have landed. Now that you know what you're up against, allow me to properly introduce you to this world. Take a step closer to the edge so Xavier can see me, and turn to face him as he meets my eyes, my arms sweeping outward like an announcer taking the stage as a gesture to the city behind me. Well, kid, welcome to the apocalypse. Sad smile stretches across his muzzle as he stares. It's a stare drift from me back to the unfortunate yet mesmerizing scenery. Moved to sit down next to him, wrapping an arm around his shoulders to pull him in for a side hug. Thanks, Alex. For what? Being here? Anytime, Xavier. Pressed his head against me, and then turned to rest him on atop his, watching the slow retreat of the sun lead the evening into night. Our journey may just be starting, but with Xavier around, I can't help but feel this newfound spark of hope. Like there's a voice in my head repeating the same 4 words. It'll all be okay. I don't believe that for a second, but cool. That was a great update. Not even gonna lie, that was a really good update. Lots of character building, lots of, like, revelations and all that. Again, writing quality is excellent, as per usual. Really like, the writing. As per usual, but update, whatever. You know what I'm saying, I like this VN a lot. The premise is really unique, and I haven't seen a post-apocalyptic VN in terms of furry VN, ever. This is like the first of its kind, so that's definitely a plus. Anyway, thanks for watching. I hope you guys have a good day or whatever the fuck time it is where you're at. Now, fuck.